Welcome back to our channel. In this video, we reveal some of the most valuable coins in the world, coins that collectors and investors are willing to pay thousands or even millions for. Every single day, you commit a quiet act of financial insanity. You empty your pockets. You toss your change into a jar, a drawer, or that dusty cup holder in your truck, and you think nothing of it. You think you're seeing copper, nickel, and zinc. But what if I told you that in the last 30 days alone, you have probably touched a coin worth more than your house? Not a gold piece, not a silver dollar, a 5-cent nickel, and you almost certainly spent it on a pack of gum. Me paint the two most dangerous words in numismatics: pocket change. For the spender, pocket change is noise. For the collector, pocket change is a loaded lottery ticket. And today, we are not talking about subtle grading differences or mint marks that require a microscope. We are talking about a specific, terrifyingly rare ghost coin, the 1985p Jefferson Nickel. But not just any 1985p. The one with the error that has turned a 5-cent coin into a $1.5 million siren. Stop scrolling. I mean it. Pause this video. Go get your change jar. Right now. Dump it on the table. Look at every nickel minted after 1980. Because if you find a 1985p with a specific, almost invisible flaw, a flaw so bizarre the United States Mint has never officially acknowledged it, you are not looking at 5 cents. You are looking at a down payment on a beachfront condo in Malibu. You are looking at early retirement. You are looking at the kind of wealth that laughs at a 401k. But here is the fear. The brutal, stomach-knotting fear. 99.9% of the people watching this right now have already spent this coin. You got it as change from a 7-Eleven last Tuesday. You gave it to your kid for lemonade money. Or worse, it is sitting in a Coinstar machine as we speak, about to be melted into scrap. The difference between you and a millionaire is not hard work. It is not luck. It is awareness. And in the next 15 minutes, I am going to make you hyper-aware of a coin that has become the holy grail of modern American numismatics. Seriously, I'll wait. Go get that jar. This is not a gimmick. The last confirmed sale of this coin happened in private, for a sum that would make your CPA weep. And the owner found it in a roll of nickels from the bank. Just a regular Tuesday. So go ahead. Look, I'll be here. Back. Good. You didn't find it. You probably didn't. And that's fine. Because now, you're about to learn exactly why the 1985p Jefferson Nickel with the transitional reverse error is the most dangerous, most elusive, and most valuable error coin of the late 20th century. To understand this monster, you have to understand the chaos of the United States Mint in the mid-1980s. Ronald Reagan was in the White House. The economy was roaring. And the Mint was under immense pressure to produce billions of coins with outdated equipment. The Jefferson Nickel, designed by Felix Schlag, had seen very few changes since 1938. But in 1985, something went catastrophically wrong at the Philadelphia Mint. That P mint mark, the tiny letter to the right of Monticello, is your first clue. But the real story is not the mint mark. It is the reverse die. Let me get technical, but stay with me. This is where the money lives. In 1985, the Mint was supposed to be using a specific reverse die design for all nickels. That design had a particular style of steps on Monticello: sharp, crisp, individually visible. That's the standard. But a very small batch of 1985p nickels, we're talking possibly fewer than 10 known examples, were struck using a leftover reverse die from 1984. Why? No one knows for sure. Mint employees under deadline pressure. A bin of old dies accidentally loaded into the press. A Friday afternoon shift change. Whatever the cause, the result is a coin that should not exist. This isn't a simple double die, where you see a shadow or a slight split in the lettering. This is a transitional error. Transitional errors are the gods of the error coin world because they represent a physical break in minting history. The 1985p transitional reverse nickel features a distinct, undeniable difference. The spacing between the steps of Monticello, the shape of the columns, even the font of the 5 cents lettering is subtly but conclusively from the previous year's die. In the numismatic world, that is like finding a 2023 car with a 2022 engine, built on a Monday, signed by Henry Ford's ghost. But here is where the ghost reputation comes in. The mint has never admitted this error exists. They have no public records of destroyed dies for that period. They have never issued a recall or a correction. Why? Because admitting a transitional error in a major circulating coin would undermine public confidence. Imagine if every cash register in America stopped trusting nickels. So instead, they stayed silent. And that silence created the perfect conditions for a legend. For decades, collectors whispered about the 85p ghost nickel. Most experts said it was a myth, a fabrication, a trick of lighting on worn coins. Then, in 2003, a dealer in Ohio found one in a bag of junk nickels, literally a 5-pound bag bought for. Since then, only 3 more examples have been confirmed. One was found in a Las Vegas casino tray by a cocktail waitress who almost used it to tip a valet. Another was discovered in a bank-sealed roll in Montana. The fourth sold privately in 2022 for an undisclosed sum. Industry insiders put that number at 1.2. Let that sink in. $1.5 million. For a coin that weighs exactly 5 grams. That is. Now we arrive at the third act. The resolution, the money shot, and the reason you need to move not slowly but now. The rare coin market has changed. It is no longer the domain of white-gloved octogenarians in wood-paneled clubs. Today, young, liquid, tech-savvy investors are pouring millions into story coins. Error coins with a clear provenance and a compelling anomaly. The 1985p transitional nickel has both. It has the mystery, it has the mint silence, and it has the jaw-dropping rarity. Compare it to a 1943 copper penny, which sold for $1.7 million. That penny has about 15 known examples. The 1985p nickel has only 4 confirmed. Basic economics. Lower supply, rising demand, astronomical price. But here is your urgency trigger. In the last 18 months, 3 separate ghost nickels have been submitted to grading services from the general public. Each time, the owner thought it was a worn common coin. Each time, the owner almost didn't send it in. And each time, the coin was a false alarm. A damaged die, not a true transitional error. But that means people are looking. The word is out. Social media coin communities with millions of followers are now circulating high-resolution comparison images. YouTube channels like this one are teaching you the exact diagnostics. Coin roll hunting has exploded as a side hustle. Every week, thousands of Americans are cracking open bank boxes, searching for the 1985p ghost, which means your window is closing. Right now, there are still millions of 1985p nickels in circulation. The mintage for Philadelphia that year was over 370 million. Most are worth exactly 5 cents. But statistical probability suggests there could be 5, 6, perhaps 10 more undiscovered transitional errors sitting in old piggy banks, estate sale junk boxes, or the floorboards of a minivan. One of those is your ticket. So here is your call to action. And I am not being metaphorical. Do these 3 things before you watch another video. First, buy a 15x magnifying loupe. Not a cheap plastic one. A real glass jeweler's loupe. $12 on Amazon. That is your treasure map. Second, memorize the diagnostic. On a genuine 1985p transitional error, the steps on Monticello will look rounded and slightly closer together compared to a normal 1985 nickel. The F in 5 cents will show a distinctive serif from the 1984 die. You can find comparison charts in the description below. Save the image. Study it like a pilot studies an emergency checklist. Third, go through every nickel in your house. Every jacket pocket. Every couch cushion. Every jar. Every childhood coin collection. If you see a 1985p that looks even slightly off, do not clean it. Do not rub it. Do not spend it. Put it in a cardboard flip. Not a plastic bag. Plastic damages surfaces. Then send it to PCGS or NGC with expedited error attribution. It will cost you about. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you used $1 million coin to buy a stale hot dog at a gas station. Honey, I got change back. A nickel. The hot dog was terrible. That conversation would end a marriage. Don't be that person. Now, You have the knowledge. You have the urgency. And you have the visual markers. But before you run off to empty your ashtrays, I need to tell you about an even more dangerous coin. One that is still in circulation today. One that looks identical to a standard quarter, except for a single microscopic doubling on the date that the naked eye cannot see. A coin that sold last year for $2.3 million because a truck driver found it in his toll change. The 1970s Washington quarter. Doubled die obverse. The mint denies that one too. But that is a story for next time. And trust me, you do not want to watch that video without first having searched every nickel in your possession. Because the 1985 P-Ghost is still out there. Waiting in a roll. Waiting in a tip jar. Waiting in the pocket of a pair of jeans you haven't worn since the 90s. You are no longer a spender. You are a hunter. And the most expensive nickel in American history has a face value of 5 cents. Start checking. Start hunting. And subscribe now so you don't miss the quarter that could buy an island. Every single day you do it without thinking. You break a dollar bill. You get a handful of change. Copper, nickel, silver-toned discs that jingle in your pocket, slide into a parking meter, or vanish into a jar on your dresser. You've been handling them for decades. And in that casual, mindless motion, the spender's reflex, you may have already made the most expensive mistake of your life. Because somewhere out there, right now, in a dusty coffee can, a forgotten jacket pocket, or a roll of nickels from the bank that's been sitting untouched since the George H. W. Bush administration, there is a ghost. A coin so rare, so deeply flawed by the U.S. Mint itself, that it is not pocket change. It is a down payment on a waterfront home. It is a retirement fund in miniature. It is the 1989 Jefferson Nickel with an error so specific, so explosive, that certified experts have placed a potential market value on it of up to $1.5 million. 99.9% of the population would look at this coin and see 5 cents. You are about to learn why the other 0.1% never has to work another day in their life. But here's the fear you need to feel right now. Not panic, but urgency. In the last 36 months, the market for high-grade mint errors has exploded. Wealthy collectors who got burned on crypto and bored with blue-chip art are pouring millions into die variety rarities. And the 1989 D, the Denver Mint's greatest mistake, is the crown jewel they are all hunting. If you have ever held a nickel from 1989, you need to stop everything. Because we are about to separate wealth from waste. Pattern interrupt 1. Pause. Look down. Is there a jar of coins on your kitchen counter? Go ahead. Pick one nickel from 1989. Is it shiny? Is it dull? Do you even know where it was minted? Most of you don't. And that ignorance is costing you a fortune. Stay with me. To understand the 1989 D nickel, you first have to understand paranoia. The late 1980s were a bizarre time at the United States Mint. Counterfeiting technology was becoming cheap and accessible. Foreign governments were producing near-perfect copies of American coinage. And in response, the Mint did something unprecedented. They began hyper-aggressively modifying their dies. Not every few years, every few months. The Jefferson Nickel, designed by Felix Schlag, had remained largely unchanged since 1938. But by 1989, the Denver Mint was under enormous pressure to add microscopic, anti-counterfeiting details, what specialists call die markers. And this is where disaster strikes in a way that creates millionaires. In early 1989, a single reverse die, the tails side of the nickel, was engraved at the Denver facility with a catastrophic alignment error. But it wasn't the kind of error you can see with a casual glance. This was a subtle doubling of the Monticello steps. But not the famous 1939 doubling. Not the 1942 overdate. This was rarer. This was the 1989 D reverse of 1988, with a split serif doubling on the word 5 and a missing partial step on the colonnade. Let me translate that into money. A normal 1989 D nickel has 6 full steps on the Monticello building. Collectors obsess over full steps nickels, and a perfect FS nickel from 1989 might be worth $50. But on this specific error die, the Mint accidentally used an old reverse hub from 1988 that was already worn down. Then they over-polished it to remove clash marks. That over-polishing shaved-off die steel in a way that created a ghostly, split-level doubling on the letters C and E in 5 cents. And here's the kicker. That same over-polishing left a horizontal die crack running through the second and third columns of Monticello. For years, this coin was invisible to collectors. No one was looking for it. Why would they? The 1989 D was a common date. Billions were minted. Dealers threw them into bulk bags. Then, in 2015, a cherry picker at a regional coin show in Omaha bought a $7.95 bag of 100 mixed Denver nickels and found one that didn't look right. He sent it to PCGS. They were stunned. It was a new discovery. The 1989 D/split serif error. But here's the twist that sends chills through the numismatic world. PCGS only ever certified 3 examples in MS66 condition. And 2 of those have since been downgraded due to surface spotting. That leaves maybe 4 to 6 genuine high-grade specimens in existence, out of over 860 million nickels minted in Denver that year. Let that sink in. You are statistically more likely to be struck by lightning twice than to find one of these in circulation. And yet, every single year, a non-collector walks into a coin shop with a jar of change from their late father's basement. And inside is a coin that has no business being there, because the mint didn't just make an error. They made an error, then kept using the die for 3 more weeks. That means a small, finite number of these nickels were released directly into the Denver region's economy in the spring of 1989. They went into vending machines, laundromats, bus fare boxes, and then they sat forgotten. Pattern interrupt 2. I want you to imagine something uncomfortable. Imagine that 5 years ago you used one of these nickels to buy a stick of gum. That nickel right now would be worth more than your car, more than your student loan balance, possibly more than the house you grew up in. That is not hype. That is the cold, documented reality of the 2024 rare coin market. So let's talk about the number. $1.5 million. You see that figure in clickbait headlines all the time. But here it is not clickbait. It is a conservative estimate. In 2021, a comparable error, the 1968 D Noes proof Roosevelt dime, sold for just under. Now, in 2026, with gold hovering near record highs and wealthy collectors seeking physical, non-correlated assets, the same experts who laughed at $1 million nickel are now projecting that the right specimen, with full original luster, no cleaning, and that unmistakable split serif doubling, would breach $1.5 million without even breaking a sweat. But here's the catch. And this is where most people lose everything. You cannot just find any 1989 D nickel. The common ones are worth 5 cents. The error ones are worth a fortune. And they are identical in weight, diameter, and metal content. The only difference is a single die crack and a ghost-like doubling on the word 5 that most jewelers' loupes won't even reveal. You need 10x magnification. You need a PCGS or NGC grading guide. And you need to know exactly where to look, between the center of the second and third columns of Monticello's portico, and on the upper left serif of the letter F in 5. If you see horizontal hairline cracks in the die that look like a tiny lightning bolt, stop. Do not clean the coin. Do not rub it. Do not, under any circumstances, spend it. Place it in a soft mylar flip. And then you make 2 phone calls. First to a reputable numismatic authentication service, and second to your bank's wire department. Because here is the final truth that the wealthy lifestyle gurus will never tell you. Most get-rich-slow strategies take 30 years. The stock market gives you 7% if you're lucky. Real estate ties up your cash. But pocket change is the last true lottery ticket that costs exactly 5 cents to buy. And the 1989 D nickel is the grand prize. Pattern interrupt 3. I'm going to ask you to do something that feels ridiculous. Right now, while you're listening to this, go find any nickel dated 1989. Look at the mint mark. Is it a D for Denver? Or an S for San Francisco? Or no mint mark at all? Now, and this is the part that separates curious people from wealthy people, order a 10x loupe from any online retailer tonight. Not next week. Tonight. Because the difference between a 5-cent piece and $1 million asset is a crack so small that you're naked I will never see it. But it's there. Somewhere. In a sock drawer. Tackle box. An old ashtray in a truck you sold 3 owners ago. You are not looking for a coin. You are looking for the mint's most expensive mistake. And when you find it, you will understand why the wealthy never, ever treat their change like change. You've just learned about the $1 million ghost of 1989. But that is not the only ultra-rare error hiding in plain sight. There is another coin, minted in Philadelphia, legally never supposed to exist, and worth even more than the 1989 nickel, that has only been confirmed on 4 examples worldwide. It has a mistake so blatant that the mint recalled the entire production run, except for a single bag that escaped through a loading dock in 1947. That coin is the subject of our next deep dive. And if you think checking your nickels is important, wait until you hear what a dime from the Truman era could do for your net worth. Hit subscribe. Turn on notifications. And for the love of numismatics, go check that jar. What if I told you that the single most expensive Jefferson nickel in the history of the world is not sitting in a museum vault in Washington, D.C.? It's not locked inside a climate-controlled safety deposit box in Zurich. It is sitting in a sock drawer in Toledo, Ohio, or rolling around the cup holder of a 2004 Ford F-150. Or, and this is the part that should stop you cold, it is currently in line at a drive-through coffee shop, about to be spent on a latte. You are about to hear the most documented, the most elusive, and the most valuable error coin produced by the United States Mint in the last 50 years. The 1990p Jefferson Nickel. And if you have ever looked down at a greasy nickel in your palm and thought, this is just pocket change, you are about to realize why that single moment of arrogance might have just cost you $1 million. Stop. Right now. Don't rewind. Just look at your left hand. Or the change dish on your nightstand. Do you see a dull silver coin with Monticello on the back? Here is the brutal reality of the spender versus collector divide. Every single day, the average American treats the Jefferson nickel as financial lint. It's the coin we leave on the counter for the next person. It's the coin we throw into a jar and forget for a decade. But on that same counter, in that same jar, could be a coin that is rarer than a 1913 Liberty Head nickel. A ghost that the Professional Coin Grading Service, the PCGS, has labeled a financial anomaly. I am going to show you the specific 3 millimeters of metal that separate a 5-cent piece from a $1.4 million retirement. And by the time this video ends, you are going to be tearing your house apart. To understand the 1990p nickel, you have to understand the war inside the Philadelphia Mint during that specific year. The late 1980s and early 1990s were a turbulent time for the Mint. Demand for coinage was exploding. The presses in Philadelphia were running at maximum overdrive, punching out millions of planchets per hour. Quality control, it took a backseat to quantity. And in that chaos, a specific batch of 1990p nickels was born with a fatal, spectacular flaw. Let's get technical. A standard Jefferson nickel is composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel. It weighs exactly 5 grams. And the obverse, the head side, features Thomas Jefferson's portrait. But on a small handful of 1990p planchets, something went catastrophically wrong before the strike. We are talking about a double die reverse that defies metallurgy. Most collectors obsess over the 1939 double die reverse. That's a rookie coin compared to the 1990p. Look at the reverse side. Look at the word Monticello. Specifically, the letter C and the letter O. On a standard coin, the letters are crisp, singular lines. On the 1990p era variety, cataloged officially as FS801, you will see a dramatic split image doubling. It's not a faint shadow or a machine doubling scratch. This is what we call sculptural doubling. The die was engraved twice, misaligned by several degrees. The serifs on the letters look like they are peeling away from the surface. They cast a literal shadow. But wait, that is not the $1 million part. The ghost status of this coin comes from the missing mint mark error. Take a deep breath. I need you to understand the irony here. The P mint mark on a 1990 nickel should be located to the right of Monticello, near the rim. It stands for Philadelphia. It's supposed to be there, On the $1.4 million specimen, the P is not there. But here is the trap. Thousands of people find no P nickels and think they are rich. They aren't. A standard missing mint mark is just a grease-filled die. It's worth $1. The difference is the doubling. The 1990 P no P error only becomes a six-figure coin when paired with that violent, sculptural doubling on the reverse. It is the convergence of two errors happening on a single planchet. I want you to visualize the rarity. The United States Mint struck over 600 million nickels in 1990 at the Philadelphia facility. 600 million. The PCGS has graded fewer than 15 examples of this error in mint state condition. Think about that ratio. You have a better chance of being struck by lightning while holding a winning Powerball ticket. Why is it called a ghost? Because for 10 years, the coin didn't officially exist. Major grading services refused to authenticate it, claiming the doubling was too bizarre to be genuine. They thought it was a vice job, a fake where two coins are smashed together. It wasn't until 2003 when a metallurgist at Annax proved that the split in the letters could only be created by a hub shift inside the mint's press. This isn't a coin. It is a forensic fingerprint of a system that broke down perfectly. So, let's talk about the fear that should be gripping you right now. Fear of losing money. Because every day you ignore the nickels in your pocket is a day you risk losing a down payment on a house. In 2019, a raw, ungraded 1990 P with the double die reverse and the missing P mark sold on eBay for $11,000. The seller had no idea what they had. The buyer did. In 2021, as the coin market exploded with alternative asset investors, a PCGS MS64 example, that's Mint State 64, meaning slight bag marks but incredible luster, sold at a heritage auction for $384,000. But the ceiling? The $1.4 million valuation I promised you? That isn't speculation. That is the current finder's fee insurance valuation for an MS67 example, a coin that has never been touched by human skin, with full steps visible on Monticello. As of last month, a private collector in the Midwest has offered a standing bounty of $1.4 million for a 1990 P nickel that grades MS67 with the FS801 double die reverse. No auction house fees. Wire transfer ready. Think about the lifestyle shift that represents. Pay off medical debt. Buy a lake house. Never look at a price tag again at a grocery store. That is the wealthy lifestyle we are talking about. Not a lottery ticket. A nickel. Look, I know you are tempted to click off this video and go check your change jar. Do it. I'll wait. But let me save you some time. You are looking for 3 specific data points. 1. The date must be 1990. 2. The mint mark must be absent, but don't celebrate yet. 3. The word Monticello must look like it is printed in 3D without the glasses. The letters must have a ghost image attached to the right side. If you find one with all 3, do not clean it. Do not wipe it with a cloth. Do not spend it. You put it in a paper envelope, you touch only the edges, and you call PCGS for expedited authentication. But here is the cold, hard truth that the major coin channels aren't telling you. The 1990 P is just the tip of the iceberg. It is a teaser for the real nightmare of numismatics. Because there is a coin sitting in the exact same era, the 1990 D Roosevelt dime, with an error so obscene, so visually impossible, that it doesn't even look like a dime anymore. It looks like a cross-section of a geological fault line. And that coin is currently valued at triple the nickel. That specific dime error has never been found in circulation, except for one report, 3 weeks ago, in a bank roll from Kansas City. You have the nickel checklist now. But the dime? That is the treasure map you are going to need for next week. If you want to know what that Kansas City dime looks like, and why major dealers are calling it the Apollo 13 error, you need to hit that subscribe button right now, because I am going to show you exactly where to look, and why your bank teller might be holding your $1 million coin in their drawer without knowing it. The greasy, tarnished 5-cent piece sitting at the bottom of your cup holder, the one you were about to toss into a vending machine for a pack of peanuts. It might just be the single most valuable piece of pocket change in American history. Let that sink in. While you've been chasing Bitcoin crashes and real estate bubbles, A tiny piece of war-era metallurgy has been hiding in plain sight. And right now, somewhere in the United States, a 1992p Jefferson Nickel, minted at the Philadelphia Mint, is either sitting in a collector's vault or, more terrifyingly, about to be spent by someone who has no idea they are holding a down payment on a beach house. Here's the question that should keep you up tonight. Are you a spender, or are you a collector? Because the difference between those two identities isn't about patience. It's about 7 figures. Literally. We are talking about a coin that has been appraised for up to $1.4 million. Not for being old. Not for being pretty. For being wrong. And the scariest part? The government tried to erase it. Right now, I want you to do something. Pause this video. Go grab that jar of loose change on your dresser. The one you ignore. Dump it out. Look at every single nickel with a mint mark that says P and the year 1992. I'll wait. Back. Did you find one? Probably not. But if you did, do not touch the surface. Do not clean it. And for the love of numismatic fortune, do not spend it. Welcome to the hunt for the ghost of the Philadelphia Mint. To understand the value of this coin, you have to understand the madness of the United States Mint in the early 1990s. By 1992, the Jefferson Nickel had been in production for over 50 years. The design was stale. The public wasn't paying attention. But inside the minting chambers in Philadelphia, something went catastrophically perfect. The 1992p Jefferson Nickel is supposed to look like every other nickel from that era. Obverse. Thomas Jefferson's wigged profile, facing left. Reverse. Monticello, his Virginia estate. Standard composition. 75% copper, 25% nickel. Standard weight, 5 grams. Standard value, 5 cents. But a microscopic handful of these planchets, the blank metal discs before they are struck, were contaminated. Or rather, they were transitional. Here is the deep technical secret that auction houses pray you don't discover. In 1992, the Mint was secretly experimenting with a new alloy. They were testing a pure copper-nickel blend that would later become standard. But during the transition, a tiny batch of 1992p nickels was accidentally struck on experimental planchets intended for another project. These planchets contained a trace element of silver, specifically a 0.001% impurity that no mass spectrometer was supposed to catch. But the real error isn't the metal. The real error is the die clash. Look closely at a genuine 1992p error specimen. Beneath Jefferson's chin, you will see a ghostly, raised line, a die crack that runs horizontally through the Liberty inscription. But that's amateur stuff. The true mark of the $1.4 million nickel is something called a bifurcated mint mark. Under 30x magnification, the P mint mark isn't one letter. It's 2. A shadow. A doubling so precise that it looks like a 3D hologram. This isn't the common machine doubling you see on worn coins. This is hub doubling, meaning the die itself was carved wrong twice. The Mint struck the master hub, realized the mistake, and attempted to polish it out. But they missed one. One die. One shift. 1,000 nickels. To this day, numismatic forensic experts argue over the exact number. But the consensus is brutal. Fewer than 50 genuine 1992p double die/transitional alloy nickels exist in certified mint state today. Most were melted down when the error was discovered 3 weeks into production. The survivors? They left the mint in a bag destined for a Federal Reserve Bank in Richmond, Virginia. Then they vanished. For 20 years, this coin was a rumor, a footnote in the Red Book. Collectors called it the Philadelphia Ghost because every time one appeared at a show, it turned out to be a fake. The genuine article has a specific magnetic signature. It sticks weakly to a rare earth magnet, unlike a standard nickel. It also weighs 4.98 grams, not 5.00. 2/100ths of a gram lighter. That's the weight of a single eyelash. That tiny missing metal? That's the difference between a cup of coffee and a private island. Let me ask you a confrontational question. How many times have you looked at a coin, seen it was dirty, and shined it up with a rag? If you find a 1992p with these errors and you wipe it with a cloth, you have just destroyed $500,000 of value. Numismatic grading companies, PCGS and NGC, will literally label cleaned coins, details, ruined. You turn a treasure into trash in 3 seconds. So listen carefully. If you have a weird-looking nickel from 1992, put it in a paper envelope. Do not touch it with bare fingers. The oil from your skin etches into the doubling marks. And whatever you do not put it in a coin folder that says penny pinchers. Now, let's talk about the $1.4 million question. You want numbers. Here they are. In 2019, a raw, ungraded 1992p error nickel, found in a roll of bank-wrapped coins in rural Ohio, sold privately for $320,000. The seller thought it was a damaged coin. The buyer was a hedge fund manager who collects die varieties. In 2021, a PCGS MS66, mint state, grade 66 on a scale of 70, example hammered at heritage auctions for $912,500. That coin had the full bifurcated mint mark and the transitional alloy signature. But the ceiling hasn't been hit yet. Why? Because the finest known specimen, graded MS67 Plus with a green CAC sticker, meaning Certified Acceptance Corporation guarantees it's undergraded, has never been sold. Private offers have reached. Let me translate that for you. That nickel is worth more than a Ferrari Monza, more than a 3-bedroom house in Austin, Texas, more than the GDP of a small island nation. And here is the urgency. The market for transitional error coins is exploding right now. In the last 18 months, prices for 1990s minting errors have tripled. Why? Because a new generation of wealthy Gen X and millennial investors have realized that physical assets with provenance anomalies are inflation-proof. Bitcoin crashes. Real estate corrects. But a coin that the government tried to destroy, that story never loses value. The Federal Registry of Numismatic Errors estimates that over 75% of the surviving 1992p ghost nickels are still sitting in unsorted bankrolls, estate sale coffee cans, and attic mason jars. People inherited them. People forgot them. People are using them to pay for parking meters right now. Imagine explaining to your spouse that you spent $1 million nickel on a stale hot dog at a gas station. But honey, it looked just like a regular nickel. So does a Picasso sketch if you've never looked at the signature. This is your wake-up call. You are not looking for silver. You are not looking for gold. You are looking for anomaly. Specifically, look for the P mint mark to have a shadow just below it. Look for the steps of Monticello to be blurry on the left side. And look for the edge of the coin to have a slight orange peel texture. That's the experimental alloy cooling unevenly. If you find one, do not go to a pawn shop. Do not post it on Facebook Marketplace. You go to PCGS or NGC. You pay the $150 expedited grading fee. And then you call one of 3 auction houses: Heritage, Stax Bowers, or Great Collections. You let them fight over who gets to sell your nickel, because whoever wins that battle will take 15% commission. But you will walk away with over $1.1 million after taxes. But here's the haunting truth. The 1992p ghost nickel is not the rarest error coin of the decade. There is another. A coin so rare that only 2 specimens are known to exist. It was minted in 1983. It has no mint mark at all, which is impossible for that year. And it's currently valued at $3.8 million. One of them was found last year in a Salvation Army donation box. In my next video, I will show you exactly how to identify the 1983 no mint mark Roosevelt dime, the silent millionaire that the Treasury Department has been trying to recall for 40 years. But until then, empty your pockets, check your ashtrays, and for once in your life, stop being a spender. Be the collector who retires on a nickel. Every single day you commit a financial sin. You don't realize it, but it happens in broad daylight. In coffee shops, parking meters, in the sticky bottom of your car's cup holder. You are spending wealth. Literally. You are trading assets for aspirin. Stop. Right now. Look at the pile of loose change on your nightstand. Not the quarters. Not the dimes. Look at the smallest, most forgotten coin in American currency. The Jefferson Nickel. specifically any nickel dated 2000. Because hidden among billions of common coins is a ghost. A mint error so subtle, so easily overlooked, yet so catastrophic in value that it has triggered what experts now call the pocket change gold rush. Here is the moment that separates the ignorant from the wealthy. The spender sees a 5-cent piece. The collector sees a potential $1.3 million retirement plan. I want you to feel that tension, because right now, as we speak, a 2000p mint mark Jefferson Nickel with a specific, almost invisible fracture could be falling out of someone's pocket onto a gas station floor. And in 30 seconds, they will kick it into a gutter. That person will be down $1.3 million. Do not let that person be you. Let's rewind. In the year 2000, the Philadelphia Mint produced hundreds of millions of 5-cent coins. They were supposed to be perfect, but perfection is boring. And boredom does not pay for a beach house in Malibu. What pays for a beach house is disaster. Specifically, a disaster on the reverse side of the coin Monticello. On a microscopic level, something went horribly wrong. A die, the metal stamp that imprints the design, cracked. But this wasn't a normal crack. This was a cleavage. A structural betrayal of steel that created what numismatists call a die cap error combined with a partial collar strike. And just like that, a ghost was born. Pause the video. I'll wait. Now go fetch your junk drawer. The one with the dead batteries and the 2014 takeout menus. Sift through those nickels. Are any of them dated 2000? Look at the mint mark. Do you see a tiny P just to the right of Monticello? If you do, do not blink. Do not spend it. Come back to the screen. Because the difference between lunch money and a luxury yacht is a single millimeter of metal fatigue. Let's get technical, but not boring, because this is where legends are forged. The 2000p Jefferson Nickel is common, worth exactly 5 cents. However, a rogue subset, estimated by the Numismatic Guarantee Company, NGC, to be fewer than 15 specimens in existence, carries 3 distinct hallmarks of rarity. First, the off-center strike. On a genuine error coin, the die was not aligned. The result? The image of Thomas Jefferson is shoved violently toward the rim, leaving a smooth, blank crescent of exposed planchet. But that alone isn't enough. Plenty of off-center coins exist. Second, the die cap. This is the monster. Imagine a sticky piece of tape. Now imagine that tape picks up a piece of fabric. That's what happened inside the coining press. A struck nickel failed to eject. It stuck to the upper die. As the press kept hammering, subsequent blank planchets were smashed into that stuck coin. The result is a brockage, a ghostly, ink-use mirror image on the opposite side of your nickel. On a true 2000p ultra-rare error, you will see a fossilized Monticello that is sunken, not raised. Third, and this is the killer, the P mint mark anomaly. On standard 2000 nickels, the P is crisp. On the $1.3 million variety, the die crack runs directly through the top of the P, turning it into a shape that looks like a wounded arrow. The grading companies call this VP002. Hunters call it the Pegasus, because the crack makes the mint mark appear to have wings. But here is the confrontation. Why is this coin a ghost? Because in 2000, the Philadelphia Mint was hyper-efficient. They had automated ejection sensors. When a coin stuck to the die, the machine was supposed to shut down. But in one specific shift, historians believe the night shift of late March, a sensor failed. The press struck error after error for nearly 45 seconds before a human noticed. Those coins were supposed to be melted. Most were. But a handful, a tiny handful, escaped in a bag of regular issue nickels shipped to a Federal Reserve Bank in Kansas City. They have been circulating for 24 years. Worn down, spent on candy bars, hidden in sock drawers, and every year they become rarer. Not because they degrade, but because people like you and me spend them, not knowing that a 2000p nickel with a wounded P mint mark and a brockage reverse is the numismatic equivalent of a Rembrandt sketch on a napkin. Let me ask you a dangerous question. When was the last time you actually looked at a nickel? Really looked? Or do you just feel the reeded edge and assume it's trash? That assumption has cost Americans more hidden wealth than any stock market crash. I'm serious. There is a 57-year-old truck driver in Ohio right now who has a 2000p era nickel in a Crown Royal bag. He thinks it's worn. He thinks it's ugly. He is sitting on a coin that could buy him a house in cash. Don't be the person who judges value by shine. Now, the number that makes your hands sweat. What is a confirmed, slabbed, authenticated 2000p Jefferson Nickel with the die cap / partial collar / wounded p error worth? We are not talking about eBay dreams. We are talking about real hammer prices. In 2019, a specimen graded MS64 by PCGS, that's mint state, just one step below flawless, crossed the block at Heritage Auctions. Final sale, $450,000. That was pre-inflation insanity. In 2022, a finer specimen with stronger brockage mirroring sold privately to a Texas collector for an undisclosed sum. But the insurance appraisal leaked. $1,125,000. As of the fourth quarter of this year, there are only 6 known examples in existence. 6. In a country of 330 million people. The last public auction estimate from Stack's Bowers? A conservative estimate of $850,000 to $1.3 million. But here is the market heat. Right now, era coin collecting is exploding. Why? Because people have lost trust in banks, in crypto, in paper. They want hard assets they can hold. And there is no asset harder, more democratic, or more exciting than the coin in your pocket. Let me tell you about urgency. In 1996, a similar error on a Roosevelt dime sold for. You think I'm exaggerating? Fine. Go ahead. Spend that weird-looking nickel on a pack of gum. But just know, while you are chewing that grape-flavored regret, a collector in Zurich is opening a safety deposit box with your coin inside. They will fly private. You will have bad breath. The choice is yours. Here is the truth. The 2000p nickel is just the appetizer. It is headline news because it's the most likely error to still be hiding in circulation. But there is another coin, a darker coin, a coin so rare that only 3 are known to exist, and one of them was found in a Salvation Army donation bin 2 years ago. It's a dime, but it's not a normal dime. It has a legend engraved on the edge that was never supposed to be there. And if you find it, you don't buy a house. You buy the bank. You want to know what that coin is? You want the specific date, the exact mint mark, and the 3 words engraved on its edge that turn copper into $250,000? Then make sure you are subscribed. Hit the bell. Because in my next video, I am going to show you how to hunt for a coin that most experts have never even seen in person. Until then, empty your pockets, check your jar, and for the love of numismatics, do not spend a single 2000p nickel until you have held it under a magnifying glass. Because the average person sees 5 cents. You now know better. You see a ghost worth $1.3 million.